And we'll have the same kind of discussions to really open up, and whatever you disagree with, you can freely speak, of course to a limited extent, and have exchanges of information, and people will enjoy that. It's not something replicated equally elsewhere around the world. They have tried in various places, but they didn't quite succeed in having a platform like this. I mean, in the past, I'm sure you know this, you're old enough to know that this was, at the very start, a place that was an opportunity for people who are just about to be hanged over there, right? Say the last words, and then that's it. And then it became then officially known as a place where you can actually say, and then you had people like Karl Marx and probably Lenin and others. They used to come here and talk. So historically, this place is well known, and that's why it's still today with that kind of force. So what's happening today, in line of this tradition, is still people are coming to discuss openly and freely, so that this kind of fear of the other is removed. So we as Muslims, we take up an opportunity to say, look, there are a lot of misconceptions. So much so that people are calling Muslim the boogeyman, like, okay, they're the other, they're the enemies, the bad guys. Now, what made that perception or the image is something that we want to openly discuss and say, look, 200 years ago, did you even think about that Islam is a religion of violence and it does this and this? You knew Islam is a religion of peace. If you go and look into the history. And then, so what happened then? Politics changed a lot because of political differences and political powers having sometimes imbalance in the political strength. That's why the insecurity came from the Western elites and the governments, and they want to now demonize those political entities which are becoming stronger. Otherwise, people will be also inclined to see, why are they like this? I mean, these people, they're not Canadians, they're not Americans, they're not English, but they seem to have some values which is very appealing. So how do you then stop your lot of people, say the Canadians and Australians and Americans, from choosing a lifestyle other than your own? Because you would want to control your flock, you'd want to control your traditions and uphold your traditions. Everyone likes to do that. This is a general thing, right?
We do that.
Yeah.
Do you know what
this is what happened.
Do you know what we have in Canada in January? And I will tell you, and this is, people are welcome to their own traditions. And where we have in January, we have a holiday called Gunhagus Fat Choi, and it's a combination of Robbie Burns Day and Chinese New Year. And the Scots and the Chinese celebrate together. Gunhagus Fat Choi.
Gunhagus Fat Choi. And so what has changed?
Welcome to do it.
Interesting. So what has changed over the years?
One of the biggest festivals in British Columbia, where we're from, is Diwali.
Okay.
Huge.
So these are what changes have taken place. Initially, when Europe wasn't in contact with the Islamic civilization, there was always this fear, who are these people? I mean, taking over our lands. As Islam was growing, where are they growing? They're taking over the lands of the West. As it was spreading, Islam is now becoming Muslim. So everywhere else. So if you look at the Byzantine Empire and so on, the Europe was shrinking because Islam was growing in their lands. So they had to deal with that, saying, okay, how do you prevent the loss of land and the loss of people's understanding of culture, tradition, belief, and so on and so forth. So the device, unfortunately, that's where the problem started at the very beginning. Instead of saying, okay, fine, there are legitimate differences and it's fine, you know, we need to deal with it politically or ideologically, they started distorting the other's belief system and what they stand for. So instead of saying, okay, these people believe in one and only God, they started inventing all these people believe in this number of gods, and how can you even think about these people? They're savages.
Don't you think that organized religion is the cause of most of the problems in the world today? And I'm thinking in Islam, Sunni versus Shiite, in India, Hindu versus Singh, and in Myanmar, it's the Buddhists versus the Muslims. In Ireland, it's the Catholics versus the Protestants. I mean, it doesn't seem to matter who the enemy is if he's not you. And it all comes down to organized religion.
Okay, let me address this, but let me just quickly finish what I I was saying in terms of the historical backdrop of how things went to lead us to where we are today. So at that time, instead of representing the other as what they are and what they stand for, we were misrepresented. So there are a lot of scholarly works done in terms of the image of Islam in the West. Okay, I will give you a book called Jabal Buaban. It highlights clearly even the elites of the West at the time, academics, intellectual influentials, how they misrepresented the Muslims. So as people got more and more access then, because Islam then grew eventually anyway, regardless of all this misrepresentation, Islam came to the West, right? And then people are then exposed and say, oh, this is what you stand for. You stand for justice, fairness, truthfulness, trustworthiness. You stand for uprightness. You stand for all that is what we strive for internally, regardless of what you believe.
But I got a question for you. What makes your system better than the Christian system?
Okay. Two important questions. So let's move on to your questions then. So that was initially what happened, and then of course people later realized that wasn't the case. More and more as people are enlightened, they realized misrepresentation. That misrepresentation of Islam hasn't stopped today. It's still going on in the media by lots of media outlets. We here try to correct that misrepresentation by our own media platforms. We have our own social media, and then that can really set the record straight. So, coming to your question.
Okay, well you can answer my question.
Can I answer his question first, or your question?
Please.
Your question first.
I didn't ask anything yet.
Well, my question was, what makes your system
better than Christianity?
Better than ours, in your opinion?
Sure. So when we talk about any system needs to be holistic in its setup. Okay. It's not like it only tells you how to brush your teeth and that's it. It's not going to tell you how to interact. I'm just giving you a very mundane, silly example, right?
I like it.
So we need a holistic set of rules, regulation, principle, guidance, so that we know what our place is here in this world, what are we doing here, and how are we going to live our life, and how are we going to be successful in the hereafter? Because you believe in the hereafter, you believe in heaven.
Well, actually, I don't.
Okay, Christians do in general. Okay, maybe you don't, but that's how it is. Because Jesus Christ came to tell people, the kingdom of God and what awaits there in heaven. So, the system that Christianity presents today, what we say, wasn't the system that was brought by Christ himself or his predecessor prophets in the past. Christ brought a message to people that they should worship none but God and not to worship anyone else. Christianity now worships Christ along with God. So it went so far away from the original messages. And how did it do so? By inventing and fabricating rules, regulations, systems, what we now call the Bible. And then that is how it's trying to be implemented. But even so, that itself is not implemented in society. As time went, people divorced religion from politics, or politics from religion, and said, politics, you do whatever you want to do in your secular ideologies, whatever ideologies, but when it comes to your religious, personal life, you can think about what Christianity is. So they went away from the original system that God mandated for them. If they reacted and stayed on that, then that would be the same system that God has been sending throughout the time, including the last one that God sent after Christ, in which the system now demonstrates the falsehood that entered within Christianity, the truthfulness that still remains, and as well as now it is now become a complete message and system for all times. Because Christianity, through Christ, the message that he brought was only localized for his people. He didn't come for the Chinese or the Ethiopians or the Ugandanians. He only came for the lost sheep of the children of Israel, according to his own statement. He says, I did not come except to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
It's the people themselves who decide upon creating the various different forms of religion throughout the world. It's the people themselves who've done this and chosen to believe these particular aspects of religion. There's no God. There's nobody up there telling us all what to do.
Okay.
We decide amongst ourselves.
It's interesting that you say there's no God.
And you will find that there are common social aspects in common to all religions, and I'm thinking of what we call the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do to you. You've got that in Islam, it's in Christianity, it's in...
So I would like to address that more, but I'm going to address your question so that I don't forget. Organized religion, cause of all the major problems in the world today, right? Now,
it's the basis of a lot of it. Not every single one.
A lot of it. Sure.
Yeah.
In terms of religion, this is where our discussion will come with the gentleman here. What's your name?
Phil.
Phil. I'm Mansur. What's your name?
Lois.
Phil and Lois.
Yes.
Okay. And what's your name, brother? Always. Okay. So when it comes to
a friend of this guy?
We are, yes.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not fair. You go away.
I'm just listening and getting educated.
Sure. So organized any system is better than no organized system or disorganized system.
Oh, yeah.
If you look at any society that is running, if it needs to run properly and efficiently, it needs to be organized. It needs to have a system in which there's governance, structure.
But that's government. That's not religion.
No, religion includes how you govern societies and individuals.
Government is law. Religion is social.
Religion
And
includes,
they overlap.
but that's where our perception of what religion is slightly different.
But you're not answering the question. No, you keep talking and talking.
I haven't addressed Lewis's question yet. Can I do that first?
Okay,
then
go for it.
have you said to your heart's intent. So, organized something is better than non-organized or disorganized. We accept that.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to religion, our understanding of religion is not just a private matter. Religion to us is a complete way of life, how you govern your life, how you interact with others, in private as well as in public. That means all aspects of governance, economics, sociology, crimes, criminology, all of it is included. So if we don't have a system which is organized to give you the whole outlook of how you are going to deal with all of that, it's going to be a real mess. That's why you need an organized religion. An organized religion will have a boundary in which it will tell you these are the parameters in which we should live our life, and going against this boundary will incur some punishment. For example, if you now steal,
You're doing too much talking here.
Just a minute.
but that
Because you're not answering the question.
I was trying to.
No, because I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Christians have similar beliefs, so what makes your system better than ours?
The system.
Here?
Exactly. That's a brilliant question.
So answer it.
The answer
What a
is.
politician says when he doesn't want to answer
The
question.
answer is what I've already alluded
He always says how
to.
very
The system in Christianity as it stands today
God.
is corrupted and incomplete. If I want to summarize it, right? Because you want summary. Corrupted, incomplete. Corrupted meaning from original message it's been departed. Incomplete, it was never to be universal and for all times. So Islam came to tell you where the corruption occurred and where we can have the common ground, right? Speak the truth always, for example, even if it's against you, against your kith and kin and so on. And also completing being the finality of all the guidance for all time to come. So not only message for the children of Israel, only the Jewish people, but for the Chinese, the Ugandans, the Ethiopians, the Pakistanis, and all the people for all times. So you will expect to find laws and regulations to account for all aspect of your life. If I were to give you two examples will suffice, just to show you how Christianity is incomplete. If a Christian lady is suffering abuse from her abusive husband, and he beats her up every day, breaking her leg one day, punching her eye and poking her eye one day, and so on and so forth, but still says, I love you. And this man does not go about having sexual relationship outside this marriage with her wife. He is not fulfilling the conjugal relationship, but he's not committing adultery or fornication. What is the solution Christianity provides for this lady from this abusive relationship? Let me tell you what it is. You can agree or disagree. She has to live with him until there is a justifiable excuse available to her. And the only justifiable excuse to leave him is when he commits adultery.
Okay, can I just say, that is a very fundamentalist view of Christianity.
That's what the Bible says.
90% of Christian women would only give them one shot and they're out of there. It's not a matter of religion, it's law. And they will go to the police and they will charge him and he will go to jail.
I agree.
It's law. It's
I agree.
not religion.
I agree. They don't follow the religion.
Law are different.
You're right. They're not following following the religion, they disagree and they disrespect and disobey their religion and their scripture, and they go into secular ideologies and systems to provide help and support out of it. That was one example, right? There's no way out of her.
That's an interesting.
Right. So you will see that she'll be in a mess. Islam provides a solution. She can get divorced. Okay. Now, another example, usury and interest. The world today, Lewis and Phil, you know, are captivated and enslaved by the system of interest. Banking with interest, the whole countries are enslaved. They can't come out of it. Why so? Because of the system in which you are in need and you're vulnerable, you come to me and I'm a banker and I've got money, I take your weakness and I start abuse you by saying, anyway, okay, I'll give you money, £100, give me £150 back. So I, with my greed, I abused you and exploited you. And that's what's happening. Now in Christianity, if I were to ask, what's the solution God provided in the scripture?
Is there no bank in Islam? And what about Dubai?
No, we'll come back at what the Islamic solution is. No, we'll talk about Islamic solution. In Christianity, no, in Christianity, it says there is nothing in the New Testament about this solution. Go back to the Old Testament. Yeah. You should not give interest to your fellow man like another Jew. Yeah. But when it comes to non-Jew, yeah, charge interest. And that's why the problem started. That's why when it comes to usury and interest, the global problem, Christianity and Judaism have no solution. Islam says God and His Messenger has declared a war on those who take interest. So all this Dubai and everything else, they have fallen in the trap of usury and interest and they have to come out. So we are all immersed in this problem of interest. Unless we come back to the Islamic system, then we are all going to be in this very mess. So that's two examples to just show you that Christianity is incomplete.
What this all boils down to is that you are convinced that Islam is the only way.
Convinced is the right word, yes.
You're not
your God is bigger than our God.
You're not prepared to accept the fact that Christians may have the same values.
I disagree with that statement.
Catholics and
I disagree. I am ready to hear, and that's exactly, my friend Phil and Lewis, what we do here. We want to hear the opposite sides and the justification of why they believe in what they believe. And that's what we try to do, okay? Well, this is DawahWise channel and various others. You will see precisely, we want to let people see both sides and get educated and empowered by the information and make their decision which one seems to be the one to accept and follow.
Okay, but now what you're overlooking is that there are degrees of Christianity,
correct,
as there are degrees of Islam, from the very, very fundamental and strict to the much more
liberal.
Liberal, yes, thank you. There are degrees, and you are sounding more towards the fundamentalist end, whereas we're very far into the liberal end. We are. And that reflects our life and what our life has been. You can be a good person without being a religious person. You can live a good life without going to church every Sunday. You can live by the law, you can live by social values, and not believe in Jesus, and not believe in Muhammad, and not believe in whatever. I'm just saying that religion to you is central, to us it's not.
I understand that, and that's what I'm saying.
And for you, that's fine and dandy, but for us,
yeah. So look,
we don't want to live that way.
I accept your particular take on this, but what I'm saying is, if God mandated us to live in a particular way,
if there is a God,
that's the question we're going to address later, hopefully. If God mandated us,
I haven't got all day.
Okay, so let's go to this question then. When you say there is no God, clearly you have some convincing.
I didn't say there wasn't. I just said there might not be.
Phil did say there's no God.
Nobody knows.
Phil did.
I don't agree.
Yeah.
God.
So when you say there's no God, of course you have some convincing data at your disposal in which it convinced you to make up that mind.
No, I've had no.
Or is that gut feeling?
I've had no proof that there is one.
Okay.
I've been told there is.
And I have no proof that there isn't.
Okay. So basically, it's not that there is no God. You're saying I have no proof that there is a God. It's a difference altogether.
Yeah, but you're saying there's a God. There is a God, but you've got no proof of that either.
How do you know I haven't got proof?
Well, prove it. Where is it?
Well, wait a second. Let's take it slowly. What kind of proof is acceptable to you?
Don't know.
That's where maybe we should start in terms of what proves it. For example, if I were to say, okay, Phil is a human being, and somebody says, well, there's no proof for that. Now, how do I then convince someone that he's a human being?
Well,
I have to have some common way of doing it.
Human beings, so we're all examples.
What about a woman? What is a woman?
Well, she's not a man.
No, what is a woman?
There's only two kinds of humans.
No, we have man saying I'm a woman. So you're saying his definition is clear?
I'm Elvis Presley.
Cool. It's not as clear today, black and white, as you think it is. Well, today it's not as clear as that. In fact, if you ask people of the alphabet community who have now identified themselves as a man or a woman when biologically they're not, how would you even convince them? Because to them, if they think they're a gorilla or an orangutan or a dragon or a tiger, that's where they are. And the society seems to go along this line is, who are you to tell them they're not? Okay?
And if they're not hurting anybody, why not?
Yeah. So in terms of proof of God, what we say is, now when it comes to proof, people don't know what proof is, so we tend to say, look, there are reasonable arguments for the existence of God, and the arguments that are presented for the non-existence of God outweighs the argument. They are so weak. To give you a short example of what I mean by that, if you and I are something today, something, you're matter, yeah, you're something. There cannot be a time in the past, Phil and Lewis, you'll agree with me, that there was simply absolute nothingness, absence of everything, absence of potentiality, absence of even bringing anything. Nothingness is a concept in which it's opposite of something. So if I give you, say, look, I have a wallet, and I have no money at all whatsoever. If I have no money, Canadian or American, whatever, no money, no bank card, nothing. I have no bank, I have no friends I can borrow money from. Can I give you £10 if I have none? No money, nothing. I cannot give you £10 or $10. That's what I mean by nothing. To give you another example of what I mean by nothing. What do the rocks dream of? That's exactly what I mean by nothing. Because the rocks don't dream of anything. That is.
I know that for sure.
Do you know?
No.
Right. But
you don't know.
No, what we're saying is sensible people, we say rocks don't dream because they are not conscious. They're not sentient beings.
You don't know that. For sure.
Look.
I think we've gone far.
Yeah. If you go along this line, then you'll be hyper-skeptic. So now, to finish my line of thought, so
and then we have a trade.
We have
2 minutes?
to go.
Is that 2 minutes fair? Yeah, just to wrap this up. Okay, so there cannot be a past where there was absolute nothingness. Something exists today means nothingness could have brought it, because nothingness doesn't have energy or the power, the ability, the potential to bring something existent. So my wallet, which has no money, that nothing money cannot make a computer because it doesn't even exist. So if nothingness were to exist at some point, it cannot make this something. That means, Phil, Lewis, our universe as it stands today, you and I, being something has to always exist. If something always existed, you need to explain how did the transformation occur in an eternal something with no beginning of existence, unless that something had self-awareness or consciousness, had the ability, had knowledge to do it, and the will to do it. So we have self-awareness, volitional will, the power and ability, and the knowledge to do it. If these four qualities are absent from that thing, however fast you go, any transformation cannot happen. Like you sit there in your sofa and thinking that a tea will be made in your kitchen automatically, it will never happen unless an agent like Phil or anyone else willingly, knowingly goes there and makes tea or coffee. That's why the universe cannot be in this state unless there is an agency which has self-awareness. God has self-awareness. Has a will. God has a will. Has power and ability. God has power and ability. So either you give this characteristic to the universe, what we give to God. That's your proof.
Well, I thank you for your explanation.
Take care, Phil.
I don't agree with
Doesn't
you.
matter, you don't have to. You don't have to. But at least we shared something for you to reflect on. Have you ever read the Quran?
No.
Would you like a copy of?
No, thank you.
Okay, that's fine.
No, I'd rather not.
Take care, and hopefully you should reflect something what we've said, and let's leave it there. All the best.
It's been very interesting talking to you. Thank you.
No worries.
Take care, friend.